The thing with aviation batteries is that they're small because, like with hiking, ounces make pounds, and every ounce of battery that you have is an ounce of fuel or an ounce of other gear that you can't take with you. Combine that with the fact that it's winter and it's a cold day here, and the batteries just don't have that much power. So it's been sitting for a few weeks because I haven't had much of a chance to fly, and as a result of that, the battery wasn't 100%. I got about 2 real tries, didn't start on either of those tries, and here I am waiting for it to charge.
Been one of those days so far, but here we go. Got things running. Warmed up quite a bit. Okay, it's been a few weeks. We'll do a little bit more extended a run up here. Got a new tire. We're going to head out to the farm today, get set up to do some winter camping and make a potato and sausage soup in the hot tent. It's been a while since we did some hot tent on this channel. I hope everybody enjoys that. For now, let's get out of Lone Rock. Lone Rock traffic, Gate 1 Whiskey Tango, departing runway 09, Lone Rock. Lone Rock traffic, Gate 1 Whiskey Tango, left crosswind 09, Lone Rock. Lone Rock traffic, Gate 1 Whiskey Tango, turning left downwind, runway 09, Lone Rock. So what we're doing here is just out of an abundance of caution. Haven't flown in a few weeks, plane seems to be working fine. Just doing a lap while we're still within gliding distance of the airport. Make sure that the oil temperature comes up, oil pressure stays up, all those sorts of little things. Lone Rock traffic, Gate 1 Whiskey Tango, departing the pattern to the southwest, Lone Rock. Definitely see some cool things while you're flying. There's our new solar farm. It's gotten bigger and bigger the last couple summers. Not actually sure how big it is, but it's a lot. Not a hobby project. Okay, so most people have heard about ChatGPT. This is an artificial intelligence that creates text, and it is taking the world by storm. A lot of people are really impressed with this new generation of AI and the amount of information that it's absorbed, number one, and how it articulates the information that it has, number two. So I thought I would have ChatGPT write a script for us today. And the topic of that script is the terrain that we're flying over right now, which is the driftless area of Wisconsin. So according to ChatGPT, the driftless area is a unique region in the upper Midwest of the United States and is notable for its rugged topography, diverse plant and animal life, and lack of glacial deposits. This area is located primarily in southwestern Wisconsin, but also extends into southeastern Minnesota, northeastern Iowa, and northwestern Illinois. The driftless area was formed during the last ice age, which ended approximately 12,000 years ago. While much of the upper Midwest was covered by glaciers during this time, the driftless area was not, due to its unique topography and location. As a result, the area has a distinct landscape characterized by steep valleys, rugged bluffs, and rolling hills, which have been shaped by erosion and tectonic activity over millions of years. The region has a long history of human habitation dating back at least 12,000 years to the Paleo-Indian period. Native American cultures, including the Ho-Chunk, Ojibwe, and Meskwaki, have lived in the area for centuries, and archaeological sites throughout the region provide evidence of their settlements, hunting, and gathering practices. In the 19th century, European settlers began to move into the driftless area, attracted by fertile land and abundant natural resources. The region became a center of agriculture, logging, and mining, with towns and cities such as La Crosse, Prairie du Chien, and Mineral Point growing rapidly. The area was also a hotbed of political activity during this time, with the formation of the Republican Party in Ripon, Wisconsin, and the birthplace of the progressive movement in La Follette, Wisconsin. Today, the driftless area remains an important agricultural region, with dairy farming and organic food production being major industries. This area is also a popular destination for outdoor recreation, including hiking, fishing, hunting, and birdwatching. The region's unique geology and natural beauty continue to draw visitors from around the world. So that's pretty accurate based on what I know about this area. One thing that is notable that wasn't in there is that the Oshkosh Air Show every summer uses Ripon, Wisconsin as well as one of the entry points to the pattern to go in there. So ChatGPT seems really well designed for stuff like that. There's a lot of historical information. There's a lot of websites of record. So I thought I would see also how it does in something that's a little bit less well-cited. So I asked it to describe backcountry aviation. ChatGPT says that backcountry aviation is a type of aviation that involves flying small aircraft into remote areas where there are no established runways or airports. This type of flying is often done in wilderness areas where there are no roads or other means of access, and where backcountry pilots can reach remote lakes, rivers, and mountainous terrain. Backcountry aviation is usually done in small, single-engine aircraft, such as the Cessna 180, Super Cub, or MAL. These aircraft are designed to operate in very short and rough runways with the ability to take off and land in very short distance. The pilots who fly these planes are often skilled and experienced, with specialized training in short takeoff and landing techniques and mountain flying. The practice of backcountry aviation is popular among recreational pilots who enjoy exploring remote wilderness areas, such as national parks and wilderness preserves. It is also used by government agencies, such as the National Park Service and U.S. Forest Service, to access remote areas for firefighting, search and rescue, and scientific research. Backcountry aviation, like all aviation, carries risks. Flying in remote areas requires high skill level and experience, and pilots must be aware of the challenges of operating in rough terrain, high altitudes, and changing weather conditions. Backcountry pilots must also be aware of environmental concerns, such as protecting wildlife habitats, and must follow strict guidelines to minimize their impact on the environment. Despite the risks, backcountry aviation is a popular and rewarding activity for many pilots, offering a unique way to experience some of the most remote and beautiful wilderness areas in the world. And to me, that's a much more impressive thing for an artificial intelligence to write. I can't really argue with any of that. It did jump out at me that it said the pilots who fly these planes are often skilled and experienced. I would hope it would be always, but I suppose there are exceptions to that rule. One thing that really hit the nail on the head was saying that it's a popular and rewarding activity, and that it sure is. Being able to go into the backwoods of Idaho, to places like Johnson Creek, Wilson Bar, Moose Creek. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. And into Utah, into the Canyonlands, to places like Nokai Dome, Mineral Point, Happy Canyon, and enjoy that kind of stuff is really amazing. And even what we're doing today, just flying into a farm to do some camping, set up a hot tent, and make some food. So with all that said, we're getting close to the farm, so I'm going to get set up for a landing there, see how things go. So turning my attention to the landing phase of this flight, my concerns are primarily with the snow. So as you can see, the snow is melting through, and it was only 2 or 3 inches to begin with, which is well within the safety margin for this airplane in this configuration. But when I fly over the strip, I am going to be looking to make sure that there were no drifts in particular. The strip is on a hilltop, and because of that, one side of the strip does have a tendency to get considerably more snow than the other side when the winds are coming from the right direction. Okay, coming up on the strip now, I can see exactly what the rest of the fields look like, which is that the grass is starting to melt its way through, so that means we have half an inch or less of snow. We do have a little bit of the drifting on what will be the left side of the runway on landing. What that'll represent is the possibility of the left gear grabbing a little bit more than the right. Otherwise, we're good to go. Got some swirls coming over that. I think I'll set up here off to the side a little bit in case anybody else comes to visit. So let's get set up to camp.
Last time I had this set up was at Nokai Dome, so it still has a lot of red dust and then some white dust also from the High Sierra flying. The stakes that came with this tent are very large, very heavy, and can be difficult to pound in. So I'm trying a new system. I bought lag bolts, washers, and some chain to make screw-in stakes that I drive in using an impact driver. For the guy lines, I'm using bigger ones because they are the ones that actually hold the tent up and resist wind loading. Today I'm putting in the guy lines first instead of the footprint stakes. This is the reverse of how I usually do it, and I won't be doing it this way again. Doing the footprint first makes it easier to stretch out the bottom of the tent, put the poles in, and then the guy lines are easier to get right the first time. For the footprint, I'm using slightly smaller ones because they basically just keep the lower sidewalls in place. It's the middle of winter and we're going to cook some soup, so we'll set up the wood burner. This is a Winterwell Nomad 800 cubic inch that I've been using for a bit over a year now. Overnight, one of the main tricks is to use thicker pieces of wood and mostly close the vents on the front of the stove. This will result in slower burning and fewer times that you need to wake up to get the fire going again. A good sleep system is always important also. I'm a cold sleeper, so I have a -40 sleeping system. Often, I just let the fire go out overnight and start a new one in the morning. There are two styles of stovepipes commonly available. This one breaks down into rigid pieces that fit together to make the pipe. There are also stovepipes that are made from flexible aluminum and roll into a single piece. These are lighter, less durable, and generally found on the smallest stoves that backpackers use. Now that we have a hot fire going, we start with 1 tablespoon of olive oil and add a pound of mild Italian sausage and remove the unexpected paper from the bottom. Things are getting a little too hot in the tent, so I'm going to open the door and let some cooler air in. Sausage is starting to cook, so I'm going to break it into bite-sized pieces. The bottom is getting nicely browned, and that's going to add a lot of flavor thanks to a chemical reaction between the amino acids and reducing sugars in the meat, known as the Maillard reaction. After the meat is browned, we're going to set it aside and get the veggies going. We're going to saute 1 small diced onion, about 2 cloves of minced garlic, and I'm using garlic from a jar this time. It's not my preference, but it's what we have around the house. 2 medium-sized carrot sticks, diced. 2 celery ribs, diced. What we're doing here is just combining everything together and softening the veggies a little bit. Now we're adding 4 cups of chicken broth and a drained can of cannellini beans. 2 medium potatoes, also diced. And finally, add back our sausage. Now we just give everything a good mix and let the soup simmer until the potatoes are cooked. One of the challenges in cooking with a wood stove is temperature control. We have a pretty aggressive boil going now that the ingredients have been warmed up, and I want to reduce it to something more like a simmer. So I'm going to reduce the amount of air going into the firebox to lower the temperature. It takes a few minutes for this to happen, so you definitely want to try and stay ahead of the curve. Last but not least, I'm adding spices that I forgot to put in earlier. I blended salt, pepper, dried basil, dried parsley, oregano, and mustard powder for this one. Mix that in to let the dried herbs rehydrate and steep into the broth. After another 10 minutes or so of simmering and smelling the aromatics out here in the woods, it's time for a taste. I'm normally a big fan of cooking soup and letting it set overnight so the flavors can mature, but this one was really good hot off the stove. I decided to use a mild sausage in this one instead of a hot one, and I think that was the right call. All the flavors balance each other nicely. And as I'm recording the voiceover for this and having a bowl of the leftovers a few days later, it got simply amazing after aging. So thanks for sticking around until the end, and make sure to check out some of the other ones. We do a lot of this kind of thing on this channel. And the next one is going to be making chili and going to a fly-in chili cook-off.